All right, we are on. Okay, this is the Power Pages Copilot workshop. My name is Victor Dantas. Here with me, we have another MVP and a dear friend of mine, Kemal Kipple. We will be doing this together. For folks who have gone through any of the lessons that I given in the past, the Zero to Hero lessons, my style of teaching or presenting is very open, so henceforth, the reason why we host this on Teams, we would like everybody to participate, share ideas, uh, pose questions, so on and so forth. It's very open, and the reason being is because we believe that everybody has something to add to the discussion. So although I'll be presenting and going through um, a small agenda for co-pilots for pages, the show is yours. Okay, you are the heroes in this broadcast, workshop, presentation, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so we'll go through a few points, few areas of the platform that I had set up for us to discuss. But if you have questions around Copilot within Power Platform in general, we'll try our best to respond. And at times, we'll give you open-ended answers because we are recording and there are things we may not be able to confirm or deny just yet. But we'll try our best to give you direction when it comes to co-pilots. So far, so good? Already. Kemal, you want to say anything before we get started?
Huge fan, Victor, of your workshops, and really excited to be part of this kind of Connect today. I'll be supporting as much as I can through the chat. If you've got questions that you're a little bit shy to ask on, feel free to message in the chat as well. And like Victor said, we're all trying to learn together and trying to grow together. There's going to be areas where we're not going to have visibility or insight or can officially share, and there'll be times we're going to stump us. So encourage you to kind of share your story, what journey you're on today and what you're trying to solve by leveraging Power Pages, whether it relates to Copilot or not. Feel free to share that, and we'll try to support as much as we can on this Connect today.
Awesome. Let me share my screen and we'll get started. Please let me know, maybe thumbs up if you can see my screen. Perfect. Already. Um, so in the whole planet, I think for the last 2 3 months, the buzzwords that we hear when it comes to IT is essentially the usage or incorporation, democratization of AI to the little guy, to the developers, project managers, people working on computers, drafting documents, creating presentations in PowerPoint. The talk of the moment is how can AI assist me on my day-to-day operations, right? And with that, out of the big techs, you see that Microsoft has really started the race with certain advantage. Microsoft's partnership with OpenAI has enabled Microsoft to be a leader in this particular market. But the way that Microsoft is placing AI within their technology stack or their mission or even their revenue forecast is not necessarily putting AI as a technology that will do everything for us, but rather placing it as an assistant, always available assistant for the tasks that we do day to day. So no longer we have to do repetitive tasks on our own, or we have to go to a third party tool to find information about the task that we are implementing. But with close as our fingertips, we can request or inquire this assistant to give us information pertaining what we want to do. And I love the way Microsoft branded this strategy. Pretty much every product, be it in the Office 365 family or Windows or GitHub or Visual Studio, you name it, we have a co-pilot. So you are still responsible for your flight, but now you have an assistant 24/7. Those folks who have worked in IT for a long time, they will remember the strategy around development that was called XP programming. So XP programming consisted of a developer pairing up with another developer and both of them coding using the same computer at the same time. Of course, not both of them using the same keyboard, but one providing guidance to the other developer as the developer coded. So as I write my code, I have somebody beside me that can look at what I'm writing and can give me ideas, opinions, suggestions, cues to make my code more efficient, more secure, and better overall. So now, instead of us having this Copilot uh, write the whole code for us, it can give us cue as we demand it to the Copilot. Kemal, do you want to say anything?
No, 100% agree with that kind of metaphor, right? The co-pilot nature of this. I know I started development about 20, 25 years ago, and it was only until about 6 or 7 years into development of my career that I got a chance to partner up and pair with sometimes a senior developer architect, sometimes a junior. But those are the best times when I look back at my development career. Those are some of the best times where you had somebody who wasn't kind of staring at the code nonstop, but had all this other different perspective to bring to the work. That, you know, it was fun, it was exhilarating. You're able to solve problems together. Sometimes you learn something from them, sometimes they learn from you. So yeah, absolutely. I think the messaging, the branding for Copilot's been fantastic. That is an assistant. So, you know, I think for those that are kind of early in their careers, oh, you guys are blessed for this opportunity to use Copilot as you're learning and as you're leveling up. You're getting the power of an intermediate, sometimes a senior, sometimes a junior kind of developer sitting next to you on Power Pages, but the wealth of information that you have access to and the capabilities, they're just going to help you level up like 10x your growth and your skills compared to some of the stuff that Victor and I ran into early on in our careers. You know.
100%. Yeah, yeah, agree. The flight is still yours, but you now have an assistant that can help you. And then when you bring that into context, depending on which tool you're using, you have a co-pilot that has a vast knowledge of that particular tool. So if you're coding in Visual Studio, for example, the folks who developed Copilot, the Git Copilot, they will leverage, or they are leveraging information that was already there, but it was displayed in a different format. For example, when I code a C# application, if I want to run a code evaluation, and back in the day, that code evaluation was called FXCOP. So you would run it to see, the areas of code that you may have missed, the way that you are accessing memory and maybe not closing a particular variable that you open, a handler, so on and so forth. FXCOP would tell you, okay, these are the areas that you need to improve. Now, Copilot takes those cues and also offers you examples in how you can improve it. So instead of you going to other, documentation or even Stack Overflow, other websites to find those clues or cues rather, and tips, Copilot can bring it to the forefront. It can show it in code the areas that you can make it better. But again, I wanted to overemphasize that the flight is yours. Depending on what you feed your Copilot, you may not get a very optimal answer because of the way that you are asking questions. Think about it in the way that you may use a search engine. I live in Calgary, that's Western Canada. If I ask for best pizza, it's gonna give me the best pizza in the area that I live. But if I wanted to know what is the best pizza place in Toronto, because I'm taking a trip to Toronto next week, Copilot or the search engine doesn't have that kind of information, right? So the search engine doesn't know that I'm looking for pizza places in um, in Toronto because that's where I'm going to be in a few days. So the best prompts you can write will yield the best results. Uh, depending on how mature Copilot is for a particular tool. So tools such as Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Visual Studio, Copilot's been great. It's assisting a lot of people, and the quality of the output is amazing. Other tools, like we're gonna see today, we're gonna see Copilot in Power Pages, Copilot in Power Platform, not so great yet, but there is a lot of potential. And some of the more menial tasks, repetitive tasks, Copilot's doing a great job to help us. All right. I want to make sure that I let Gustavo know to be careful. If you're driving and watching, be extremely careful. We don't want to be liable for any accident. Thanks for being here. Anyway, so enough talk of talk. Let's jump right in and let's see what Copilot can do for us. All right. So as I said, as I mentioned, Copilot, the Copilot idea is cropping up everywhere in the Microsoft tool. So the first area that we see Copilot, actually, let me step on the brakes a little bit and let me talk about how do I get Copilot enabled in my environments. All right. So Copilot's not yet available outside of the United States. So if you want to try this out, what you need to do is you need to create an environment in your tenant, and I would advise you to create an environment, a developer environment in the United States region. So you can select United States, depending on the language that you have your tenant set up. It's going to show here, again, Portuguese will be Estados Unidos, so on and so forth. So United States, you can select any type of environment. Of course, if you do sandbox and production, it will incur costs to your organization. I would do developer or trial environment, and then you can hit next. You have it. It's going to work for you. And as soon as you land into the Maker portal, make.powerapps.com, you would see this screen here. Now, the Copilot feature for Power Platform is in preview. So there isn't really much that can be done here, but even the little that is available can assist you in what you do. All right. So if I come here and I say, build me an app, build me an app to track sales leads, Copilot will generate the data model for the app, and then we'll create a Canvas app, and it will also create the model-driven forms for this particular app. So let's give it a minute and see what it does. Meanwhile, we're waiting. If you have questions, comments, you can unmute yourself. And oh, that was fast. Okay. But during any time that Copilot's thinking, if you want to pose a question, feel free to do that. So it created a table for me. It has an ID, name of the contact, name of the company, email, and phone number. Now, I can come here to Copilot and say, if you want to be a polite Canadian, you can say, please add a URL column to my table. And Copilot will do this for us. It will add a table and show a table here on the side for us. If I scroll to the side, I now have URL field, it's correctly typed, and it's good to go. Now, if I am to create this app, it will, again, generate a table, create a Canvas app, and also it will organize the form for my model-driven app. And it is this form that we can then surface on the website when we create our Power Pages website. But before we do that, let's have a look at how Copilot is creating a table. So I have no room to change the details. I'm guessing that this is going to happen over time, where what's about to be created can be changed before we commit. But look at this. It created my table and it had the schema name that I wanted. How did you get this done? All right. For folks who work with Power Platform, you know that every feature that is in preview, when it's used, it places those created features under a solution that's called the Common Data Model default solution. So how did I get my Copilot to create a table with the right schema? Let's have a look. So I'm gonna go back to the Maker website. Sorry, not the Maker that I want, Power Apps. And this is my first tip for you. The first thing that I do when I create an environment is that I create a solution for me, and hence by creating a solution, I create my custom publisher. But once I do that, I go back to the Common Data Services default solution and I change my publisher in this particular solution to the one that I want, which is the Power Pages Plus. And again, the reason why I do that is when I create these experimental objects, features that are available in the Maker website, it doesn't create objects with the funky schema name that I cannot change once it's created. So that is the first thing I do, and this is my first tip to you. If you're going to use experimental stuff, be it Copilot, there is another experimental feature that I use at times, which is image to app. You take a photo of a wireframe and you generate an app that's also experimental, and you cannot select the solution that you are creating that particular object. So it creates the object in the Common Data Service default solution. Henceforth, it's going to use the publisher specification that is available here. So if you don't change, you're going to get a prefix like CR1234 underscore the name of your table, right? So that is the first thing. So now I have my table. I can say, go ahead and create my app. It's going to take its time, and it's going to generate again a table, forms for that table, and a Canvas apps. So let's give it a minute and we see what this looks like. Any questions so far? Comments, concerns?
Yeah, I just got a question while we're having this load up. Is you're mentioning the when you use some of these experimental features, they store the data in the Common Data Service, and the prefixes are not defined, right? It's something that the system chooses. How important is that as part of like Power App development and solution development, Victor?
Yes, it's very important. If you create an object that doesn't have the prefix that you want, it's hard for you to transition those objects as part an ISV solution. So a solution that you want to sell as a off-the-shelf product in the market. So if I were to create it the normal way, now I would have a bunch of objects with different naming convention. And at the end of the day, what we want is that all of the objects that we create and features and automation to be contained in a solution that we can promote as an ISV. So one of the steps that Microsoft does when taking an ISV off-the-shelf solution is to validate using the checker, solution checker. And that's one of the stages that it will go through. It will validate that objects have the right prefix, they belong to the same solution, they were constructed with the same publisher, so on and so forth. All right, so my application is ready to go. Of course, this Canvas app is a little bit outside of the context of our presentation. We are not doing copilots in Canvas apps, but nonetheless, you got an application that works. It's using the Fluent UI here. It looks really nice, actually. You know, the look and feel is really good. Of course, I mean, to my standards, it looks nice. I think for Kemuel, who is a ninja in this arena as well, maybe he would do something that's more elegant. But it's created. The application is created nonetheless. We didn't have to create the fields manually. We didn't have to create the look and feel of this app manually. So we got things up and running fairly quickly. All right. So now what we want to do is we're going to go back to our custom solution. And we're going to bring the table we created here. Right. So I'm going to add an existing table. Going to look for the sales lead table. You see that it has the right prefix. I'm going to select it, hit next. I'll select all objects, add it to my solution, and off we go. We have a table. If I expand the form, we'll see that the form is also created with the fields on it. Now, it made my life easy because now I don't have to drag and drop. Maybe I wanted to reformat this a little bit. This is wrong. I did an example yesterday and Copilot moved the field. So that's why I was so confident it worked today. But it didn't. It failed. It didn't create the forms as I wanted. So I'm going to drag the fields here. I need to test this more and see in which occurrences this works versus the ones that it doesn't. But super easy. Got my form there. It's ready to go. Now I'm going to go to Power Pages and I'm going to click Create a Site. Now there is one facet, one aspect of Copilots that is in the works, but it's not yet made available, but it's public knowledge. That's why I'm speaking here. So Microsoft, please don't get me on the NDA. You are the ones advertising it. So what it is Copilot for Power Pages will allow you to create a website from here using natural language. So you wouldn't need to click to create a site and select a template. You would be able to say, okay, create a website for a company that manages leads, you know. So, but it's not yet here, but when it's available, it's going to be part of this main page. So I'm going to create a website. I'm going to choose a template. Let's go with this template. Call it sample sales leads site. I'll hit done. And hopefully this is going to go super fast. Okay, while this is provisioning, let's talk about what areas Copilot are really available today and how we can best use. And then we're going to go through live examples. So you have three main areas for Copilots within Power Pages. Remember what we just saw here. It's Copilot for Power Platform, creating again tables in Dataverse and Power Apps, Canvas Apps application. Now we're looking at Copilots within Power Pages. So what is available today is Copilot can assist you in creating content for your website, and you can add tags. So instead of using bogus and vague content, you can ask Copilot to give you information. You don't have to write it all up. And if you struggle with English grammar, this is going to help you like it helps me. The second area is that when it builds content, it also creates image. It creates the formatting of the website for you, which is great. So you don't have to do some of the sections manually, you know, adding an image to the left side or to the right side, adding content in a way or another. Copilot will do this for you. Second area is theming a website, branding. You can ask Copilot to give you suggestions around color schemes. So you can say, Copilot, make this more, you know, kids friendly, make this more business, and then it will change the color scheme of the website for you. And the third area is that it can build a gateway or a front end to your websites to collect data. So you can tell Copilot to create a form and expose that form on a page for you. Now, there are some limitations in all three areas, and we'll talk about it. So when you plan on using Copilot, understand what's available, understand what you want to build, and then you choose whether you start creating the data structure using Copilot for Power Platform, or if you want to use Copilot for Power Pages. All right. So depending on, again, the user story or what you want to do or how fast you want to get this thing going, you will use one or the other and not the two. That is what's available today. This may all change in the future, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Then,
And it's such a huge relief. I think if many of you on the call that are joined today and watching this video afterwards, sometimes the biggest hurdles that we have is getting the right content in place. It's not that it's not easy to add in text into a Power Page or a layout. It's sometimes we're working with a marketing team or a corporate con team to get that information, and they want it pixel perfect or they want exactly the right notations. What we're really trying to do is enable the makers to build Power Pages and get to more being focused on solutions. So the Copilot helps you kind of level up and kind of focus your creativity on solution enablement and solution development, rather than that initial framework of, do I have the right text here? One of the things we're going to show here is if you have a piece of text that Copilot surfaces, you can even change like the tone of what that messaging is. So, I think really what it is if you're kind of, Victor talked about XP programming, where you're working alongside another developer. What Microsoft's given us with the Power Platform is working alongside the business for creating these solutions and scenarios. And now if the business is like, hey, by the way, can you change the color of this to make it a little bit more grungy, or maybe a little bit more focused on, social impact around green initiatives. And it could change those tones and colors really quickly to kind of inspire and focus again on the requirements, which is the business processes and the automation that you're trying to implement as part of Power Pages. So pretty excited to see that as we go through this.
That's awesome. Yeah. So here's what I'm going to do. I mean, it's going to take its sweet time to generate the site. I'm going to go to another environment and we'll walk through exactly what Kim was talking about.
One thing I want to also share while we're loading this up is there's a conception that I also originally had around Copilot, was that Microsoft's Copilot, does it use my data and the inferences to update its language? So as you're interacting with Copilot, does it use that data to actually build better models? And Microsoft's come out very clear from a responsible AI point of view that it doesn't use your text, your content, the questions you're asking to retrain their Copilots. They're actually not using that, which is really impressive. So if anybody's interested in that, message in the chat. Happy to share a link with you guys around responsible AI, where they call out what Copilot, where that marker is from a privacy and a data sovereignty point of view, what it touches and what it doesn't touch.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so I have my website. We are in Design Studio. This is the area where you design pages, look and feel, so on and so forth. And I can go to a text area, and you'll notice that there is a Copilot button here that I can click, and I can ask it to rewrite the sentence. I can ask it to change the tone, make it shorter, make it longer. So let's take a look at this change the tone. Say, let's make it more professional. So Copilot will have a look at the text, and according to what I chose, it will change and give me some options. So I can choose what option I want to use, and when I'm ready, I'll say replace text, and then I have it. Now, let's say that for some of these sections, I don't like the content. And I could say one by one, I can say rewrite and have it surprise me or I can add more details as to what I want it to rewrite with. So let's say that we are changing this website to promote information about the upcoming Power Platform conference. So list one reason as to why people should attend the upcoming Power Platform conference in Las Vegas.
Get an opportunity to meet Victor Dantas in person would be a great reason.
Not sure if that's a good reason though. No, I'm looking forward to meet you too, Kemal, and a lot of the folks who are going there. It's always good. Probably a highlight of the year, just being able to be in the same room with so many great people. So it wrote the text for me. Again, I didn't have to write it. It just went out there and got it done for me, right? So in terms of content, this is what it can do more granularly. I can also do it a whole site overhaul. If I say change the content of the site to promote the Power Platform conference, in Las Vegas. It's coming October. And let's see what it does. Now, here's one downside with Copilot. And again, it could be just because it's in preview, things are being improved. I have had instances where I asked Copilot to do this and it changed the whole site. I didn't like it. And I tried to go back and I couldn't go back. So try it. That's why I prefer to try it on a developer environment, because then you can go. This going back actually works all the time, or eventually we hope for it to work when it's in GA, right? But look at this. It changed content, add some images that are somewhat related to a conference. May not be perfect to a lot of people's standards, but at least it got you up and running. So I see this as a very valuable tool for proof of concept websites, MVP, so you can get things up and running very, very quickly. Okay.
Looks like we've got a question here from Hunter. Hunter, you got your hand up. Go ahead, bud.
Yeah, I'm just curious. So if you scroll down underneath the register now of that first piece of content there, it started showing people's photos next to little pieces of content below that. I'm wondering, could you change one of the photos? Could you ask Copilot to change one of the photos to, like, Victor Dantas or Charles Lamanna?
Yeah. So that part is not there yet. You would have to try to do it using commands such as this. But Copilot is taking a similar approach to ChatGPT. Anytime you ask it to find information that's personal to an individual, it says, unfortunately, I can't do this. It takes privacy somewhat serious, or very serious, I guess.
Right.
And it may not do it, but it's something that you can try. I mean, we could try.
One thing you could, because I know Copilot, there's some phrases that are there, so we can definitely, give this a shot. Obviously, there's non-Copilot ways to change those images and surface up stock images or surface up people that you're looking for.
Let's see what it can do.
Let's see.
But yeah.
Oh, that's too funny.
Yeah, I'm glad when I was in high school there was no internet, because I would be afraid what would show up here if people ask me.
I'm just, if it does pull up a picture, I'm just glad the data is like from 10 years ago when I looked much younger.
Oh man, you're still very young. But yeah, I think I tried to do that, and the response wasn't great. I'm guessing though that the same way we can do text Copilot assistance on content,
Exactly.
that we're going to be able to do that with images, switch this image to a bunch of young guys attending a conference or group
Yeah.
of people attending a Power Platform conference from 2022, right? So if the images are public, I think it would be able to do it. Oh, wow. And
Yeah.
took you as a shape. Maybe
Yeah.
not the right.
My first name Kenwell is a predominantly female name. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you can tell that it's not really looking at information that's available online, right? It's trying to create bogus content here based maybe on a variance or appearance of this name. Anyways,
Got it. Yeah.
yeah. So the goal at the end of the day is that not only you would be able to write content, but also you would give instructions around look and feel, right? I want the site to use this particular font for all the heading ones, and this other one for heading 2, so on and so forth. That is the end goal. We are not there yet, but I see this progressing in that direction soon enough. So the other
and I
area.
think I was just going to say for Hunter's case and for everyone as well, Copilot, think of it as that sometimes that writer's block or that creative block that you have, that initial spark of inspiration that you're looking for. That's what you're going to find it most useful for as a starting point. But right now, a lot of the refinement you're going to want to do, a lot of the tweaking you're going to want to do is still going to be hands-on. But I think right now they're just going to try to make sure some of the key functionality that's there, like this is even scratching the surface of Copilot can do, but from a brainstorming perspective. But yeah, that's where it's going to be for a little while.
Yeah. So the next feature here with Copilot is that you can ask it to give you new theme colors. So we can say change theme colors should follow Power Platforms purple color. Let's see what it does. I don't know if hopefully it's going to look good, but maybe you can write better prompts than I do. But that is the thing though. It's a Copilot. It's telling you what it's doing what you're telling it to do, right? Change colors or theme colors to purple base. All right, so we can click to apply. Now our site looks this way. Now, again, it would be nice if we could use the prompt here to say, based on this websites, and then we would give it the URL of a website, our customer's website, go ahead and theme this site, right? Because that's what we do a lot of times. The sites that are built with Power Pages, they readily overtake a corporate website. It's always an extension of the corporate website. But we most of the times the mandate is for the new Power Pages website to follow the same branding as the customer's website. So we spend a lot of time matching colors, matching fonts. So we hope that in the future we'll be able to tell Copilot to go out there, inspect a website, come back, suggest colors, fonts, so on and so forth. All right. Finally, on the maker experience, you have one more feature. So this other feature I want to showcase in the site that we created. Hopefully it's generated by now. I've never seen it take this long.
Right.
I guess we are not going to be able to do it. Let's do it on this one. So on this environment, I created a table for RSVP, for people confirming that they're going to participate in an event. So let me go to the back end real quick just to show you what that table looks like. And that table was created using the Copilot for Power Platform, using this particular Copilot. So when we look at the table, Come on. We see that there are a few columns already created. The name of the person who's confirming, email, if attending or not, number of guests, message, so on and so forth. So it created this for me, again, using the Power Platform experience, right? So the table already exists. It's got its own name, using the naming convention that I want, it's good to go. Now, if I come here to Copilot and I say, create a form for RSVP, it will generate a form for me and it will give me a set of options. It shows the fields that it will use on the form. You see that there is a handful, maybe more than a handful of fields that it inferred to and created that do not exist in my table. But one thing that it didn't do here is asking me if I wanted to use the table structure that is already available in Dataverse versus creating a new table. Now, if I click OK here, it's going to generate my form, but you will notice that it does something else, and that something else is not exactly what I wanted. All right. So if I go back to the environment and I click on tables and I type RSVP, you see that there is my table here. And by the time this ends, there will be another table created through Copilot for Power Pages. So again, when we started, I gave an interlude of deciding what you want to do, depending on the requirements for your customer. That is the idea. I'm not sure if you wanted to create multiple tables every time you wanted to create a form. And we hope that Copilot will be able to look at the Dataverse data structure and use that first before creating different tables, different data elements when we ask assistance in creating a form. So let's go back and filter this once again. Yeah, so there is the Copilot RSVP, and there is the Copilot, or there is the Power Platform Copilot RSVP table. So now we end up with two tables. This is not what we wanted, okay? So a lot of power in Copilot in doing this, but I'm not sure if I would use it in a real life scenario where I'm extending a website yet. So hopefully we'll get there with time. Now, the other thing Copilot is not able to do yet is creating other data objects from here. So if I say create a list of RSVPs, it's up until yesterday, it's not doing it. It's creating a form again. So we cannot show data in a list format, even though it's an object that's available in Power Pages. So it's going to the form instruction still. So we don't have this type of objects there, right? But that's what you can do from the get-go. So let me delete this object. And then we're going to go into the fourth option with Copilot. And this is going to be a little different. This is not a visual tool. This is more code-based tool that can still help makers in building experiences that they want to build within Power Pages. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to click on Edit Code. It's going to open Visual Studio Code. And I saw that this was available starting yesterday. So hopefully it's still available today. And what it is Copilot for Power Pages. All right. So if I go to the home page, where is my home option? This is code. Yeah, I might not be able to showcase from here. Yeah, maybe it's not enabled on my site. Anyhow, I'm gonna open Visual Studio Code locally, and then I'll show you what I mean. So when you open it, and then you go here to this area, you're gonna have an option to try Copilot for Power Pages. So it's going to connect, and when it's done, you have a screen like this. Let me sign in. So let me get the environment included. Give me just one moment. Let me get the environment URL. Now, the online version won't require you to do this because you're already connected there. I'm using Visual Studio Code locally. Sorry, it's the main. Okay. It's signing in. All right, I am connected. So I can tell Copilot to help me write some of this logic. So what I attempted to do in Design Studio that I couldn't do was to create a list to show data from the RSVP table. So I can ask Copilot, create a web template using Liquid to list RSVP records. I put it here in plural because that's the name of the table there. I recognize that's in grammar error, but that's the way that the table was created. So when I hit enter, Copilot will look at the data structure that I have in that environment, and it's going to create code for me. Oops, sorry, let me scroll up a little. Copy, and let me put this in a notepad. I don't want to damage any of the files that I have open here, Visual Studio Code. And that is my code. So there is an entity list that it assumed it's created there. And it's referencing a view from my Dataverse table, and then it's looping through and displaying the data using a Liquid statement to do that. Now I can't, if I understand object model for Power Pages and understand logic, if I don't want to use this object, I can tell Copilot to help me another way. So web template using Liquid with fetch XML to list data. Let's copy this back to my text file, and I have code. So now instead of using the entity list object, I'm querying the database directly and displaying the data here. So you can tell Copilot to write even more refined query. You can say filter by active records, add all columns from this table to the list, so on and so forth. Sort by the name, sort by date fields, so on and so forth. Now, I do understand that this is code, right? Usually people working on the design studio, they may not know how to apply the code, but because Copilot in Design Studio is not yet, in my opinion, as powerful as the Copilot in Code, I would strongly suggest folks to at least understand the object model, because you could start implementing a page here using Design Studio and then get those snippets of code and inject to your page content using this edit code functionality. Okay, so we have 5 minutes still. I covered, I think, everything that I wanted to talk about today. Come on, my friend. There is more, I think. Do you want to? Is there more you want to talk about? Add maybe questions from the crowd.
Yeah, I think there was a great question around. Snail mentioned there's some functionality with Dynamics 365, where some of the functionality in Copilot allows you to style your own forms and create your own kind of registration pages, and kind of seeing this convergence, right, of as Copilot, and more importantly, this automation of that Microsoft's starting to provide using Copilot. You're going to see a convergence happening over time as well. So really, really excited to see that. We're hoping all of you also get a chance and opportunity. If you haven't already, make sure you do register for the Power Platform Conference. It's coming up in a week. We're going to have an entire full-day workshop on Power Pages. There will be a sprinkling of Copilot as we build out a site both from scratch, as well as build out a fully working Power Pages experience. So we're looking forward to seeing you guys there. Yeah, any other questions for the attendees, please feel free to message or raise your hand.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a comment before we go. So there is one area of or one feature of Copilot within Dataverse / Dynamics 365, first party application, sales, customer service, so on and so forth. And what it is Copilot within the context of the application itself. So not only we as dev can use Copilot to build objects, but now you can surface a Copilot within your own application to assist your users in inquiring about the data. So if you have an implementation of sales for a customer, your customer can open Copilot and say, give me the average sales revenue for the second quarter. And Copilot will look at the data in question and calculate those values and give it to the user. Give me a breakdown of number of calls per priority or severity, whatever it is. Copilot will be able to infer to the data. And the way to enable it, you can go to the environment settings and you can click on Copilot, and automatically every column that's enabled for search within your database will be available for this type of inquiry or query using Copilot. So that's all I have. Kemal, my friend, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see you in a few days. It's going to be awesome. Folks who want to register, please do. I think there is a discount code, right? It's hashtag Kemal100. If you want to get $100 discount, go for it. And it's going to be awesome. We plan on doing more workshops or discussions like this, kind of break the ice into these new features. Myself and Kemal will be here more often, and we hope that our time together was worthwhile. All right. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks so much,
Thank
guys.
you, guys. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Enjoy your Friday. Have a great weekend.
Have a nice day.